Iran as the ram and the goat.
Daniel 8.
Daniel 8, I'm sorry, Daniel 8. And I kind of relate that also with Daniel 11, when you have Antiochus
Correct.
Epiphanes down at the very last verses of that, which is to me is a prototype of the Antichrist, although it's probably one of the most misinterpreted part of Daniel 11. And you have the whole history of Alexander the Great in there. So are you referring to simply the repetition of experiences that Israel have had from the ancient time? And then we're talking about, I know it's a bundle of stuff here. Anti-Semitism, I know it's going to happen, and we all know it from the Bible prophecy standpoint. The Lord said everyone will return back to the land. And so in my own personal opinion, the anti-Semitism has to happen to drive the Jewish people outside of the nation, outside of Israel, to come back home. And then like Pastor Kurt said, Sanhedrin, just not too long ago, they created some kind of a rule, you must go back home. So your thoughts?
Well, look, let me throw something in there because I'm not thoroughly convinced. Look, Russia has an economy the size of the state of Texas. They're in massive demographic decline. They're bringing in soldiers from North Korea to fight in Ukraine. And by the way, Ukrainians sent special forces into Syria to take out the militias that Putin was drawing from to send to Ukraine to fight for Russia. So, the Iranians have always had this sort of policy. We will fight till the last dead Lebanese, as long as it doesn't involve an Iranian. But let me just throw this out to maybe complicate things a little bit. So we don't know in Ezekiel what the hooks in the jar are. So let's assume that it's Russia as one of the countries. For sure, it's Turkey. We know that for sure. Well, let's say it's Russia. What would be a hook to draw Russia in? Can I suggest something to you? I interviewed a lady named Miri Eisen. She's with the Institute you can look it up on my YouTube channel at Fellowship Bible Chapel. Very intelligent lady, security expert, incredibly articulate, with the Institute for Counterterrorism at Reichman University. And she said, she had been the spokesperson for Olmert when he was the prime minister. I traveled around the world. I met world leaders. This wasn't in my interview. It was another interview I saw in prep for the interview with her. And she said, the only world leader that actually really scared me in person was Vladimir Putin. And then she made this interesting comment. And I noticed this when I was in Israel. We drove up along the Lebanese border a number of years ago. And one thing we noticed in northern Israel is and Miri Eisen said that 20% of the Israeli population, their main language is Russian. Now, why did Putin go into Ukraine? At least in part, one of his main reasons, to protect ethnic Russians that he thought were at risk. Now in northern Israel, which is the area of what you talked about in Ezekiel 38-39 invasion, you have roughly 1.5 million to 2 million Russian-speaking ethnic Russians. Is that one of the hooks? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there to suggest that this thing operates on many levels that we haven't really thought about or had to think about till now. And so we're going to see these things unfold, and they're going to unfold very quickly, and they're going to converge and accelerate, and all these things we've been talking about for a lot of years. And it's going to be like a vortex. It's going to be like the center, like standing in the eye of a tornado. It's going to be a little bit turbulent and things swirling around us, I think. I think that's a perfect picture of how this is going to unfold. So I don't think I've answered any of your questions, but I do think that to the extent that Russia's involved, Russia has an Islamic problem. So how would Russia Putin's about legacy, right? He wants to be remembered in history. How does he accomplish that? How does he get the Muslims throughout the Stan republics in Central Asia off his back? Does he go to them? I've been saying this for 25 years, by the way. Does he go to them and say, hey, help me take out Israel? If you leave me alone, I'll help you with the Israel problem. I think that's plays into all of this. And Turkey, Erdogan is even worse, I think, than Putin. So,
all right.
Don't know if that answers your question or maybe opens another can of worms, but you know, what I like about this is I get to come in here and just kind of throw bombs, and then Kurt has to clean up the mess over the next couple of weeks.
Thank you. Spoken like a real
solid
attorney.
answer, because we really don't know what the booty to begin with. That's one thing.
Right.
And even Gog and Magog, I mean, within the Bible scholars and eschatological circle, they're all talking about Russia.
Well, technology may help. You know, there's a lot of development of technology going on with this use of artificial intelligence and everything. And I was talking to a friend just the other day, a former CIA guy, and he had sent me years ago, I can't find them now, but these reports that were circulating through the CIA about vast deposits of oil and gas underneath the Golan and other areas in Israel. Very difficult to extract, but maybe the technology will come about that those could be extracted. Russia's losing its ability to extract its gas and oil. I mean, you know, the old saying is Russia is a gas station with a country attached. But what's happened with the decline in their population and the brain drain that's gone on in Russia is they're sort of getting to the stage where they're losing some of their ability to extract their gas and oil because it's more difficult. They need more engineering minds to extract that. We have them here in the United States, but Russia is in a problem, and so that's Russia's main source of income. I mean, they are the biggest gas oil deposits in the world, but they're getting more and more difficult to extract. Same thing's happening in Saudi Arabia. So this all plays into it too, and I don't know if this is the booty, the treasure, the prize, or anything like that. I'm just not sure. I'm just saying yeah, it could be.
All right, we got on the app here, Larry Hart asking, with what appears to be the world government taking shape, what is our role? I don't know. And he said, example, the WHO, the WEF, etc.
Yeah, you know, that's one of the sort of commonly accepted things is that the United States is not involved at all in Bible prophecy. I'm not sure that that's correct. We're part of the world.
Right.
But, you know, there are a lot of people, as you know, the theory out there is the United States is Mr. Babylon and we're going to be nuked any day by Russia. That's possible. If that happens, my problems are all solved. You know? And no, I'm serious about that. You know, we want to talk about things like the rapture and that type of thing, but we also have the hope that if absent from the body, present with the Lord, and we got to live in light of that all the time anyway. So I don't know I really don't know. What is the United States role? Listen, you're asking me to make a prediction maybe about Donald Trump. That's kind of a difficult thing to do. He kind of, you know, operates on a chaos theory. Chaos is good, and this has come up a lot. Did we get a reprieve by the reelection of Donald Trump? Let me just suggest to you, he hasn't taken office yet.
Right.
But since he's been elected, have things from a Bible prophecy standpoint slowed down or accelerated? They're accelerating like crazy. I mean, we've talked about this all night tonight. So I do not know exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be I think, a very turbulent couple of months. With it, I don't know what the parting gift of the Biden administration is going to be. The parting gifts.
Huh.
I mean, we voted at the UN the other day to support this meeting to adopt a two-state solution. We voted for that. I'll bless those who bless you. I'll curse those who curse you.
That shouldn't be a surprise.
We're treading in very dangerous areas.
Right. We get involved. We really get involved in that as Babylon. I don't believe that that America is completely out of the scene by any means. I believe that my personal opinion, again, all I can speak as my opinion, is that we are greatly diminished as a country. I mean, we see ourselves continuing to go down that road morally, economically. I mean, we're the greatest debtor nation in the history of the world. All right. I mean, this whole thing called the United States of America is unsustainable just from a financial standpoint. And I don't believe that anything or anyone can come along and can prop it up at this point. We've hit the proverbial iceberg, and I see America sinking morally, spiritually, economically, and a whole host of things. But is Israel going to, or is the United States going to assimilate into the system that we read about in the global government and everything? I believe that it's going to assimilate. Again, it's just my opinion. We don't, John doesn't know. I don't know ultimately. We can only kind of see what we can see out there and go from there. But again, that is my thoughts on that. Question from Rick Whittaker, and we're going to wrap this up in just a few minutes here, but from Rick Whittaker, question, where are we in the prophetic timeline? We're closer now than we were an hour and a half ago when we started. There we go. Does that sound fair? I think that sounds fair. No, what would you say, John?
I don't know exactly where we are. You should see my email and what people send me weekly and the stacks of books that I have that people have sent me. People are studying, okay? I'm not ready to plant my flag on a lot of issues yet, but I'm watching a lot of things unfold that could congeal into very definitive things very quickly. So, it's hard to say. I'm not trying to dodge the question. I just think that we need to be open. I always say keep your Bible timelines, keep them in an easily editable format. Like PowerPoint.
If I can say this, that, I know I joked around about that a moment ago, but in all honesty, that really is so true, though, that with each passing hour and with each passing day, yes, we're getting closer. We read in the Word of God about the frequency and intensity, just as with a woman in travail, and so we're seeing. Listen, you and I and all of us really are astounded as to how fast things are changing in the geopolitical area globally. And they're changing so quick. Who would have thought 2 weeks ago that we'd be here today? That rapidly. Who would have thought on October 6th that the horrible situation of October 7 was just a day away? And who would have thought a number of the things that we've been seeing? But when we talk about the curve of exponential, the exponential curve, right? And it kind of gets going like this for a bit and like this, and then all of a sudden it just rapidly goes up. Well, you can have an exponential in the other going downward as well, but probably more so we talk about it in the upward sense of it. In fact, an exponential graph is a curve that represents that exponential function, and that curve there, for example, speaking of it going horizontally, it just increases little by little by little, and then it's just like boom, it just goes so quick and so rapidly. That's why I say so often, just little by little, guys, and then bam, all at once, there you are. And so I believe that we're seeing so much of that. I do, and things are just moving at that rate. And so, again, just my personal opinion from the things that the Word says, that the Lord said, and that we see. I believe that we are on definitely that part of the curve where things are moving very quickly and very rapidly now. And if I'm accurate in my assessment of that, then that tells me that we are getting much closer. Yeah, and certainly, yes, I agree. It's certainly much closer to the rapture. But
No, I'm sitting here. I'm looking at tomorrow's Times of London on my computer. And it's like, I don't think we really grasp the earthquake, geopolitical earthquake that happened in the last 3 days. Here's the headline of a two-page, full spread article. There was no final stand as dynasty unraveled in a day. The Assads were in power for 54 years. It ended rapidly. It kind of reminds you of that quote that I've used a number of times from one of Hemingway's books. Two guys talking, and one guy goes, "How did you go bankrupt anyway?" And the guy responds, "Well, two ways. First, gradually, then suddenly."
right.
And I think, I'm not saying that Hemingway was but I think that principle really applies if you look at the way there's an acceleration of Bible prophecy in the end. There was an acceleration of prophecy fulfillment at the first coming of Christ. Should we not expect that pattern will also hold as we approach the second coming of Christ?
Yeah, that is a fantastic point. That is a fantastic point. And all right, guys. Well, and yes, Assad is still alive. I just saw.
Yeah.
I got another question.
Yes,
It
come on
appears
up.
that he is.
Come on down, Deborah. I think you're gonna be the last question tonight. We'll wrap this up.
Hi. What I was curious about, I came in a little.
Yeah, you've got to have the mic to speak right into the mic.
Sorry. I may have missed this if you guys spoke on it. Benjamin Netanyahu, the last I heard, the people around the globe, certain countries are trying to have him arrested or...
Right, International
what-
Criminal Court, which I like to call the illegal criminal court. But
Okay, where's that at?
that's in The Hague, isn't it?
No, I mean, where's it at in the timeline? What's happening with him?
Where is?
Well,
Thanks.
the
ahead.
arrest warrants have been issued. Some countries, like the UK, Starmer came out and said, yeah, if he comes here, we'll arrest him.
Right.
Baby Trudeau, this guy up in Canada, has said, yeah, we'll honor the arrest warrants. Viktor Orban in Hungary said, no way. Come here, Mr. Netanyahu. We'd love to have you visit. And even Macron in France came out and said, we're not going to honor them. I'm not sure where Giorgia Meloni has come across in Italy. But, what will happen there? I could talk a lot about that, but the United States has a statute. We're not a signatory to the International Criminal Court. Neither is Israel. The court really has no jurisdiction to do this. They have no jurisdiction if the country has things in place to deal with their people. And so they investigate IDF soldiers all the time for misconduct. Same way Netanyahu's, he's charged with crimes right now. The trial starts again in 2 days on Tuesday. He's going to be giving hours and hours of testimony a day while the IDF is fighting in Lebanon, in Gaza, in Syria to protect Israel. It's a insane situation.
Right.
The United States has a thing called it's referred to as the Hague Invasion Act. If they tried to take custody of one of our soldiers in the International Criminal Court, our president could order an invasion of the Hague to rescue them. That law also brings within its scope allies, including Israel, Taiwan, other countries that might. So if somebody arrests Netanyahu, a U.S. president is fully authorized by Congress, by law, by statute, to go get him and free him. Now, what would that do to the Western Alliance? It'd blow it to smithereens.
Big time.
I'm just telling you, there's so many things going on so many different levels here that it really is kind of mind blowing. So I don't know if I've answered your question, but those things are still active, and they're pursuing them. But they're totally without any jurisdiction to do so. And I would recommend you look up a British lawyer who has talked about this quite a bit. Her name is Natasha Hausdorff. She's an incredible legal advocate on international law for Israel on many, many issues. Highly recommend that you follow her and listen to her. She's absolutely, and we love lawyers around my house. So anyway, highly recommend you follow
her. What's the name again?
Natasha Hausdorff, Hausdorff. She actually participated in a debate the other day. Go to Oxford Union Debates YouTube and get her. The argument was a debate: is Israel an apartheid state that's committing genocide? The lunatics that argued for the Palestine side, the pro-Palestinian side, and the crowd was unbelievably anti-Jewish, anti-Israel. Mohammed Youssef, the Hamas guy, he also argued. You'll have to look on Twitter for his part of the debate, because the Oxford Union, despite saying that they would, have not published his video, but somebody has recorded his audio, and has put it out on X and elsewhere. Natasha was phenomenal, but at the end, Oxford Union voted about 278 to 65 that Israel is an apartheid state and is committing genocide.
Which is absolutely false.
It is a ludicrous.
Yeah.
It is a falsehood. It is a slander, and you're seeing the Romans one world operating on many levels, where God gives people over to a reprobate mind and they lose the ability to reason. We just had an argument at the Supreme Court in the United States about the transgender issue the other day. Go listen to that. Listen to what Alito asked this Solicitor General of the United States about there's males and females. Yeah, I don't deny that, but that's very fluid. Well, if it's fluid, then you're denying that you're born male and female.
Right.
And listen, as a lawyer, longtime lawyer, you don't have to argue. You don't have to take the case. You can say, I'm not going to go into court and take a stupid position, but this Solicitor General thought that she could do that, and she looked like a Romans 1 person who's lost the ability to reason. Crazy. I mean, it's just this operates on. I don't want to. All these things are just sort of converging and going on so many different levels. It's really hard to keep up with them.
Right.
As Kurt knows.
Right.
Well knows.
Right. We spend so much of our time doing it, and it's just like, wow. I mean, it's getting difficult, I will say.
Well, and you also when you put up an update that it'll actually be relevant in 2 days. I did some interviews last week and we're sort of talking about Syria and that might, this, and now all that stuff is out of date.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. It's crazy. And so all of this, and in fact, what you're saying right there speaks of that exponential curve. And where I think that we are somewheres in here on that exponential curve is what I think. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, man, it's been a wonderful night. I'm going to ask the Jeremy back there if you can put message out on community and everything, letting everyone know there's obviously a second video. You did. Awesome. Sweet. Thank you. And so I guess it's going to end up being kind of two-part for people that are online. And sometimes things just don't always work the way that we want them to work, especially when you mention Barack Obama, I guess. So
the magic word, I guess.
Yeah. But, oh, man. Well, it's been great having you tonight, John. And thank you so much. And, and John is what? You're 3 hours ahead, right?
Yeah. I got up at 3 a.m. this morning, so I'm sort of getting ready to wind down.
Yeah. Just wait a minute. I've never seen you wind down, John. All we got to do is in fact, who was it? Somebody texted me early this morning. Oh, Vindog, and he texted me, and when he found out that you were going to be on, he said, "Well, Kurt, all you got to do is you just wind John up and just push go, and John goes for it." So.
I'm going to actually be on Vindog tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So
okay.
7 p.m. Eastern, I think.
Awesome. On Vindogs. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And by the way, guys, just so y'all know, we arranged this later last night, by the way. And just thank you so much for joining us tonight and coming on and everything. And get some good sleep, guys. Information with how you can connect with John Holler, it will be in the description section of the video. Encourage you to do so. He puts some great stuff out there. He's just a wonderful man of God, brother in the Lord, pastor, Bible teacher, all of these things. He's got so much great things to share and everything. And but again, thank you for being on tonight, and thank everyone for your patience and everyone that is here tonight as well. God bless you guys, and we'll either see you here next time or in the air. All right. God bless, guys.